Hello and welcome to a mini episode of PredictoCast, the podcast where we predict a movie storyline after watching only the first 10 minutes. I'm Josh, and with me as always is Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hey, Josh. Hey, everybody.
And we are very excited about this month, at least I am. I think Skinner is too, right? Maybe?
As excited as I ever get about anything we do.
Fair point. So last month we sort of took some time away from doing theme months that we've been doing pretty much since we started the fourth season of this show this year. And we're back at it. We're back at theme months this month, but for something very exciting. It's Larry Cohen month here on PredictoCast. If you are a longtime listener to the show, we have done a couple of Larry Cohen films in the run of the show, and we'd been talking about doing this for a little while, and we looked up some various dates, and he was actually born in July, and we felt like, oh, it's perfect. Let's celebrate the birth of Larry Cohen by talking about two of his films that we don't really know anything about. And we've covered on the show so far, we've covered God Told Me To and The Ambulance. And both of those movies, we ended up, I think, really kind of enjoying the weird vibe that they had. And we wanted to like really kind of investigate a little bit more of his filmography and kind of really look at some of his other stuff, because I don't know a ton of his movies. I know a few things, but I'm not super experienced with Larry Cohen, so I'm excited to see more of the stuff of his that I don't know anything about.
Besides the stuff.
Yeah, besides the stuff. I have seen...
Which I have seen.
You have seen that. I have not seen the stuff. I know what the stuff is about. Never seen it, which is kind of not good. I should probably be better.
You've seen GIFs of the stuff, right?
Yes, I have seen that. So from the things that he's directed, I've seen Black Caesar, Hell Up in Harlem, It's Alive, God Told Me To, Full Moon High, which we considered doing on the show before I'd remembered that I'd seen it, and The Ambulance. So we talked about The Ambulance and God Told Me To here on the show, but I'd seen those other ones beforehand. I know what Q is about, but never seen it, which is bad. So maybe I'll do a Larry Cohen film festival on my own aside from the show. I'll watch the movies that I know stuff about but have never seen.
But what's the point of doing something if you don't create content from it? So what I need you to do is you got to find out what podcasts are covering those two movies this month. Okay. Find them out, and you have to go guest on those. You have to do it as your... So if you are listening to this podcast and you have looked around the internet and you've seen that Josh is not scheduled to guest on any podcast about Q or the stuff, you know that he has failed.
Yes. Maybe what I'll do is I'll watch those movies and then I'll record my thoughts on them. Scattered.
I love your thoughts.
At like 3 a.m. I'll just be sitting around saying, oh yeah, and this is what I think about Q. This stuff is great. So...
Or you could find somebody who has also not watched them and record with them.
Yeah, I could do that, but that's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. That's the problem with podcasts. A lot of work. A lot more work than you think it would be.
Yeah, you would think that it's not that much work. You just sit in front of microphones, but it's a lot of work.
It's unfortunately a lot of work. Mostly for you, not so much me.
That is true. So next week on the show, we're gonna tell you now what movie we're covering next week, and we're gonna predict some things about it based entirely on the title. And next week we're kind of getting a twofer. We're getting a Larry Cohen movie, but we're also getting Billy D. Williams. We are talking about Deadly Illusion from 1987.
Was this up in discussions for us to cover in our long-running plans that have never come to fruition of doing Billy December Williams?
Yes, I think it was. I think we were we were looking around for various movies to cover. We had a very we came up with this idea for Billy December Williams. It was a idea of finding Billy D. Williams Christmas movies, which I think proved to be a little too difficult. So we had kind of broadened our horizons a little bit, and then things happened, and we just never got around to it because we ended up liking covering Christmas dog movies so much. Less that we liked covering them and more that we liked forcing our friends to have to watch them to talk about them with us.
Which is why I want more guests on the Hot Diggity Dog feed. Hot Diggity Dog, the newest, hottest feed about dog movies out there. Hot Dog Pod. Go find it. But yeah, this has been around. That idea has been around, I'm pretty sure, since summer the first year we started doing the podcast.
I think you're right.
Like, literally, we have constantly been talking, like, oh, maybe this year we'll do Billy December Williams. And like, and as of like the second year, like when we didn't do it, it clearly was never going to happen.
Well, but I will say this. Here's the promise I'll make. The December that we do Billy December Williams, that is the last year of the show.
Speaking of which, since we do have the Hot Dog Pod as its own show now, we don't have to do dog Christmas movies on this show anymore.
You are right.
So we could end this show this year.
It's always a possibility. We'll see what happens as the year draws to a close, and we'll see how we feel.
Make your own predictions. Make your own predictions if we're going to last beyond 2020. All of us, any of us, the show, anything.
Yeah. You can kind of see how things are going as the year draws to a close, and you can make your assumptions on where we're at based on what we're covering on the show. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about Deadly Illusion next week on the show with Billy D. Williams. I love that title. I love that title. Yeah, we talk a lot about evocative titles here on the show. We like movies that give us a title that we can chew on. I like movies that suggest magic. I like movies that suggest possibilities where characters may not make it out there. Because then I can spend the whole movie like, is this person going to die? Is this person an illusion? Okay, well, so that's a good point. With illusion, are we talking about like stage magic? So is this about an evil magician? You know what? I could see that, but to me personally, there would be no more villainous a character who would possibly would lead to violence and death than someone who does close-up magic. Well, that's what I was saying. Like, is this a person who's gonna like pull out some cards and he's gonna say, pick a card, and then you pick a card and you go to grab it and it's got like a razor blade in it and it slices your hand open? Maybe you pull it out and it's a picture of you with a knife in your head and the word "you" and an arrow pointing at it. Maybe it also says "this is." He's not a very good magician. He's just very deadly, that's all. Or he is a good magician. It's just that the people who come to see him are very dumb, so he has to spell it out to them. Now, what I love about Larry Cohen movies in the past that we've done before Cohen Miss that we're doing this month is that you never know. Like what makes them work very well for us is that you kind of don't know where they're going to go from where they start. If you start at Marvel Comics and you end with an evil doctor in an ambulance trying to kidnap all the diabetics in New York. You start with somebody shooting people from a rooftop and somebody trying to talk down somebody from possibly committing suicide to a god alien. I mean, the movies can go very far from where they start. I just don't know, like, if someone in this movie turned out to be a hologram, it's kind of projected into the name of the movie. It's kind of a spoiler right there. Yeah, I do love because like God Told Me To and The Ambulance, they both have that sort of vibe of existing in our world, but not quite. Like they exist
a
in
more
reality.
a more uncomfortable version of our reality.
Yeah, like there's something that is just slightly tweaked about them so that there is this weird, like, I get this when I watched both of those for the show. I get this weird, like, it's almost an ASMR type reaction to them. And it's not because of anything that's happening in the movie. It's just the feeling that I get, this sort of weird vibe of something isn't quite right here. Something is just off enough that it feels unreal. And there's just something about this like weird electricity that flows through these movies where even when they get very silly or like over the top, like the way they start and the way they build is just this really amazing thing.
Well, both of them have in common, and I'm not going to lump in any of his other movies in there because we're just going to talk about our canon, which is the most important movie canon of all. Is that it has this world where characters are having really, really odd experiences throughout it, like a regular city, and the world kind of moves around them. Like they're having this very singular life and experience that's almost supernatural, like very uncomfortable. Things are happening that they shouldn't, and yet everyone around them is just doing their own thing. Even in God Told Me to, like the city eventually kind of melts down, but it takes a while. And what has actually happened in the city is so crazy, and you just kind of ratchets itself up by quarters. And I'm afraid in this movie that instead of having like a New York City or a Boston or a Philadelphia or a Chicago or other major metropolitan area where something is happening and we're just like getting more and more comfortable and running like, how could this happen in our world? Why is anyone else noticing it? I'm more afraid that the whole movie takes place in a mirror maze.
I mean, yeah, seeing yourself in a mirror maze that and yourself is holding a knife, the mirrored reflection of you is holding a knife, that would be a pretty deadly illusion.
It would be. Can you imagine that stretched over 90 minutes?
Oh, wait, no. Sorry, we're talking about the film Deadly Reflection.
What is a reflection but an illusion? Illusion. I'm going to say that a lot during the entire show is illusion.
What do we think Billy D. Williams' part is going to be? Because he can't be the villain. He's got to be the hero trying to stop this evil magician.
I mean, too much charisma to be a bad guy, honestly.
Even
when he's a bad guy, he turns out to be a good guy.
That's right. He's out to stop this deadly mirror maker.
The Mirror Man, the Mirror Monster.
I feel like he's going to be probably...
don't say a cop because
yeah,
he's probably going to be a cop.
I caught myself and I feel like maybe I don't want him to be the
what
cop.
If he's okay? What if he's a lounge singer at a casino?
Ooh.
And the act after him is
a magician
who also runs a mirror maze.
Yes, well, that's part of his act.
That's part of his act. He's like, come behind the scenes where I have set up multiple mirrors.
Yeah, he's like, the show will continue back at this weird warehouse that I have down by the docks.
This mirror warehouse. Oh, if they have a mirror warehouse, they're not going to. If they did, what a movie. What a movie.
Yeah, and it could have the same slogan as Men's Warehouse. You're going to like the way you look.
You're going to like how you look over here, how you look over here. You're going to have a character say, I didn't know my ass was so big. Why didn't anyone tell me my ass was so big? Just like in Spaceballs.
That's one of the deadly illusions. He makes people feel bad. Their mirrors have weird dimensions and proportions, and people feel bad about how they look in them.
And dark helmets there.
That's a parody of Star Wars, which Billy D. Williams was in. Look at that. We're tying it all together. Your joke makes sense. And it's not just the ramblings of a madman.
This podcast has been the deadliest illusion all along.
Yeah, the illusion was that we were funny.
No one thought that. But I mean, if it's not magic and it's not a hall of mirrors, it's not card tricks, it's not a hologram, though that would be cool.
It could be a hologram.
I'm not saying it's not a hologram.
Maybe we get twins.
What if they think someone is an illusion the entire time and they're a twin? What if they're Billy Double D Williams?
What?
That if there was two Billy D. Williams.
I see. I thought you were saying something else.
Aren't I?
That would be interesting though. If it's like, I was joking about the twin thing because we were joking about there being twin Donald Sutherlands in Lady Ice a couple weeks ago. But like, what if there is a person who is seeing themselves doing something and they're like thinking they're going crazy, but it turns out it's their long lost twin.
That's what if I had a long lost
and they're
twin,
killing
that's how
people.
That's how I would go about ruining their lives, which I would do.
Imagine that, though. That's actually a great idea for a movie. That's a great idea for a movie. Please, no one steal it. But a person thinks they're going crazy because they see some murders being committed and they see themselves committing the murder. And they're like, wait a minute, what is happening? I'm losing my mind. Am I going crazy? And then it turns out it's their evil twin who has been living in another country. They got separated at birth and it's come to get revenge on them for some weird reason. This movie would only work in the 80s because it would probably fall into some very problematic areas if it were made today. But somebody go back in time to the 80s and make that movie.
And if you really wanted to like really amp that up, you want a little spice in there. What you do is he finally does catch his twin, and even though he's found all this background information about how he actually does have a twin, how they grew up differently, and he's finally captured it and proven to himself his own sanity, and it turns out the twin is also a robot.
Programmed.
Why is it a robot?
By
Who cares? His doctor twin.
Yes.
Dr. Robotnik.
It's programmed by his doctor, who is his twin, but he was wearing a very elaborate mustache disguise.
So this is what this movie's going to be, right?
Yes, I hope so.
we've had a run where we've actually predicted the plot of a movie pretty well, like 1 out of 7 things we said in an episode. I don't think that run is going to continue.
Probably not. But I think that's a good place to wrap up this mini episode. I'm excited to watch Deadly Illusion. I'm excited to see Billy D. Williams, and I'm excited to expand my Larry Cohen filmography knowledge. Stick around with us the entire month. We're going to be talking about Larry Cohen stuff. We might even have some little surprises here and there. But until then, I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner. Or have I been an illusion?
And we predict you'll join us. Now pick a card. Watch out, that edge is sharp.
That is very sharp. Paper cuts are no joke.
See the picture? It's you with a knife in you.
It's not called subtle illusion.
If you like the show, subscribe, rate, and review us over at Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter and Instagram at PredictoCast, and you can find our entire back catalog at predictocast.com. Our theme music is by Kyle Sledge. Find more of his work at soundcloud.com/geistmusic. To get monthly bonus content, sign up at patreon.com/predictocast. As always, thanks for listening.